All of you coming through the door, please join us, take a seat. And of course, a warm welcome to all of you that are following this event online. We have participants all over Europe watching this seminar, and I know in this room we have many, many countries represented. So, a warm welcome to all of you. Everybody talks about AI, right? So why shouldn't we in the climate community talk about AI and know about AI and be able to use it for good? So this session is about AI for climate action. How to enhance citizens' involvement. And all of you here are on the ball to enhance climate action. We know this. So that's why we're very happy that you're in this room. And my name is Catarina Rolfsdotter-Jansson. I am a climate ambassador, of course, proud to be one, second term for me. And I'm also a program host for We Don't Have Time, which is the largest climate action network and platform in the world. I am not an AI expert, but I have AI experts sitting here in front of me that will be joining me shortly on stage. So I'll be facilitating this in my capacity as a journalist and expert moderator. And of course, all of you are experts in your fields. So we want to have your questions to the panelists. Very, very important. So you know the Slido drill, right? You've done it. And you have the QR code here. And the way we're going to run this is that we have fairly short presentations first from the speakers. And while they speak, please feed questions into Slido for the speaker that is on the floor. And then I will have my colleague here from the commissionary here is Carlos Sanfilippo, who will take the questions and feed them in the microphone in the room. So your participation is really key. And also, of course, all of you watching online, your questions will be fed through Slido and brought into the room too. Carla will select the best questions too, so make them sharp. All right. Without further delay, let's jump in and have the first speaker step on to the floor here, and it's Marco Miozzo, who will talk about AI for sustainability with sustainable AI. And Marco, you are a researcher and scientist from Spain, and please give Marco a warm welcome.
Does it work? Oh, yeah. Thanks, Catarina, for presenting me. So let's start a bit with some science. So I've been working a lot with artificial intelligence, and definitely it's very important for climate change. There's a very wide and active community. You can check on climatechange.ai. There are many scientists working on this field, from improving from health, transportation, industry, electricity, improving the systems thanks to AI. So it's a very powerful tool that we need to consider for climate change. But I would like to start with some problems from AI, so some, let's say, challenges of the AI. So let's talk about a bit of the hidden cost of the AI. So as we probably well know, AI works thanks to the big amount of data that we are producing, each one of us, sensors, persons, and processing in big data center, and with a very huge amount of processing units, GPU, TPUs, that can come out with some patterns that can help another understanding what our brain and our physics cannot reach. But in order to do this, we have some energy cost, of course. These processing units consumes energy. Nowadays, AI is already spending 2% of the worldwide electricity, and it's expected to double in 1 year. So with this increment, you can imagine that the AI will reach soon problems from energy perspective. Consider that, for instance, for generating an image, you consume as much as charging your mobile. Just for generating an image in the social, you can imagine how many people is generating these kind of images nowadays. Then multiply this mobile phone charging, and you can understand the dimension of the problem. But it's not only a problem of energy. Also from water perspective, in order to cool down these processing units, you need a lot of fresh water, usually coming from the rivers. And in this case, for instance, both Microsoft and Google already released some numbers that are increasing their water consumptions. And just for giving another example, for generating 10 words with GPT-4, we can consume up to 3 bottles of water. And this water, unfortunately, cannot return all to the river. Part of it can evaporate, so go to the air. The resources, unfortunately, of AI are not only energy and water. We are also talking about minerals. Most of the minerals are extracted in indigenous peasant zone or even drought-prone zone, especially in the global south, like Latin America, Africa, and Asia. So you can imagine also the problematics related to human rights and contamination of the water during the extraction phase. And definitely one of the main problems that we are here for the climate change is the greenhouse gases emissions. Most of the big techs already claim that they increased the greenhouse emission in the last year from 30 to 50%, but numbers from scientists say that can be even 600%. So that's a huge problem, also considering the electronic waste, because you can imagine this process of needs processing is increasing and increasing. As all of us was expecting, okay, but we are increasing the efficiency day per day, there's a lot of engineers doing this, we have GPUs are increasing their performance and so on, but definitely we need to finally, especially with AI, consider what is called the rebound effect. So as soon as this service gains in efficiency, we are pushing to use it more and more and more. And this is a well-known problem in economy, called also Jevons paradox. And definitely AI is really one of the, let's say, more nowadays examples. For instance, consider the substitution part of all the services we are substituting with AI, from art, books, translation, but also in terms of spaces and resources, the needs of big data center, the needs of mineral resources, and so on. And also the device replacement. We are changing a lot these devices, and especially either our mobiles to come up, and also the data center. But there is some alternative. You can change this paradigm, so we can shift from this big data center paradigm to a more collaborative approach. This collaborative approach has a very important benefits. One of these is the fact that we can maintain the data locally, so we are owner of our data. We do not to release our data to big techs, and in this case, this is called the pervasive AI or edge AI. And in this case, we can also be more democratic with respect to this service. So we can be more transparent. We can rely on smaller company that can push this green paradigm instead of the, let's say, non-transparent typical paradigm of the big companies. So we can go toward a more democratic paradigm, more user-centered, and can be sovereign either of the service, the algorithm, and of our data. So concluding, it's important to me to give this message that we need transparent information by our service provider. When we use AI, we need to know the energy that is using, and this especially can be done with new, smaller, let's say, AI service provider, and in order to be able to apply sobriety. So, as for instance, thinking on the bike and the car paradigm, so we can decide which kind of AI we need for our specific usage, and then use the proper one instead of going blindly and lazy with always the bigger one that is, of course, the one that is work better. Thanks, everybody.
Please stay with me. And say, Carlo, what questions do we have from the audience?
So,
viewers?
Hi, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. So we have a few questions from the audience. They basically ask Marco how we can use AI in our local climate actions.
Well, there's multiple uses. Actually, today we will have a very nice presentation about my colleagues in the session that's for using AI for climate action. Coming from science, I'm much more biased by the optimization processes. So for climate action, you can, for instance, improve I'm thinking on, for instance, the local energy community. You can improve in your house how to you use the energy. And, but definitely, there's also an important field that is collecting information about, let's say, socials and so on, in order to process, for instance, how the people is reacting to some policies, how to improve how you spread your messages in your activity. So there's very many fields. I really support to go to climatechange.ai in order for the more science-related topics, but then it's a very strong tool that, if you use properly, can definitely help for climate change.
Thank you, Marco. Do we have one more question?
We do have some. Maybe just to remind the public to scan the QR code and access Slido to ask more. Maybe some questions regarding energy consumption for AI. AI is believed to be a very energy-intensive tool. So how we can use it for taking down climate change and to save our energy?
That's
a big question.
That's a big question. Yes, I would say that as a users of AI, what we can do, and as a people aware about the climate, the first thing we can do is be aware of our digital footprint. So let's start, be conscious about our usage about the AI, and then we can start applying it, for instance, actually the question is very wide, but I would start to be aware of our digital, first of all, be aware and disseminate our digital footprint also to the people that is not aware of this problem, let's say.
Thank you, Marco. And we have more people coming up on stage that will also share their perspectives on this big question. Thank you very much, Marco Miozzo. I realized that the room was not quite full when we started, so I waited with the first Slido word cloud. Can you backtrack to that one? Because I'd like to have everybody's input on the first Slido question, which is really, what is the first thing that comes to your mind when you think of AI and climate? Because now we have everybody in the room. It's actually full, which is great. So please type this in, and we can have some reflections from the next speakers on this output here. There's a lot of emphasis on the emissions here, on the pollution, which is, of course, something that is good for us to know that this is top of mind in the room, and also, of course, in the people watching from all over Europe here. Efficiency comes up too, pollution, energy consumption, lack of transparency. We do not see so many words here focusing on the bright side and the solution side of AI, which I'm sure the speakers that will come after Marco's great introduction here will shed some more light on. Okay, great. Thank you very much for putting this into the word cloud. So now we have with us Frida Eklund. She will talk about Klimatkollen, which is a great tool for climate action. And Frida Eklund is the lady that really put together this session, and she's one of my friends from the Swedish ambassador group. So please give Frida Eklund a warm welcome.
Thank you. Great to be here. Thank you very much for having me. So we've talked a little bit about AI. Everyone's thinking about AI. It can be really scary. And of course, you can use AI for all sorts of bad stuff, to accelerate wars, extract more fossil fuels, spread disinformation, and there's a whole host of bad stuff that obviously is very, very problematic. But we can also use AI for good. And of course, Marco has touched on some of it. We can use AI both in mitigation and in adaptation. So there's a whole host of things that are happening, particularly within adaptation, where we can find early warning systems, we can help with irrigation, and there's a whole host of other really positive examples. Also in terms of fact-checking, using AI for fact-checking. But AI is also about power, right? It's about whose voices are heard in both developing these AI solutions, what they're looking at, and what we're using it for. So it's also about power. And in those rooms where we talk about AI, there are very few voices that are heard at the moment. I notice always the lack of voices that could be women, frontline communities, marginalized communities, frontline communities, civil society. So for me, it's really important for us as a community and civil society to make sure that we do use AI responsibly, but to accelerate the good stuff, because there is a lot of things that we can do, keeping in mind that, of course, that there is an environmental footprint and material footprint as well connected to these AI solutions. So one thing I'm thinking a lot about, and also my colleague here, Ola, in Klimatkollen, is transparency. So how can we use AI to accelerate transparency around emissions? Now, transparency is both important in terms of AI. AI today is a lot of black boxes. You don't really know how the AI is trained, on which data, and how it's being used. A lot of it is behind corporate doors. So transparency is important, just also with AI, but also for us in Klimatkollen about emissions. So we need to know where emissions are coming from, who is emitting how much, and is enough being done to keep with both EU targets, but also the Paris Agreement. So in response, in 2022, we started Klimatkollen. And that's a citizen-based platform, so it's by and for citizens, to find climate data that can help us put together the puzzle on climate change. It's citizen-focused, so really trying to find data and put it in your hand, on your mobile phone, that tells you something about how your local community is tracking on climate change and how the brands that you care about track on climate change. It's open source, so everything that we do in the AI that we're building is open source. It means that if you're a citizen, you can go into GitHub, you can look at the code, and you can copy what we do, or you can scrutinize what you do, or you can contribute as well as a citizen. And that's really important. And thirdly, it's communications focused. So data doesn't really mean anything. So data around emissions doesn't mean anything unless we do something with that data. And for us that are working in communications, that's a wealth of information that we can use for good to accelerate the transition in also our communications work. And of course, for us, it's really about, without citizens on board, we won't achieve the Paris Agreement or the EU's green goals either. So at Klimatkollen today, we show data around Sweden's 290 municipalities and how they're tracking on climate change, how good or bad they are at cutting emissions. There's a whole host of other climate-related data that you can also drill down to in your local community and know more. And of course, we want to arm citizens with the tools to advocate for change, to start campaigns, call their MPs, and do work on the ground to accelerate the climate transition. But we're also showing data around companies, and this is also where AI comes in. So we're showing data around 300 of Sweden's largest companies. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But it all started kind of here. So there's a lot of data and facts that can help us accelerate climate change, not least emission numbers. But we found that it's really complicated to access these numbers. They're sometimes in national databases that are very hard to navigate if you're a citizen, or they can also be proprietary. So a lot of corporate data is behind paywalls, and that's not really accessible to us either. And sometimes it's also unpackaged data. So data that is maybe correct and accessible, but it's not really packaged in a way that ordinary citizens can understand it and also act on it. So we try to solve this by doing three things. So one is making it really simple to understand it. So kind of drilling down to the bare facts. Behind the words, there are the key data points. So that's what we're focusing on, keeping it very simple in terms of emission numbers. And these are emission numbers for companies in Sweden. We also want to make it open, so that's the core part, making sure the data is open so that other people can use it and build on it and use it for their purposes, and comparable as well. So you want to be able to compare, is Zara better than H&M on climate? We want to be able to provide those answers to citizens. And the third thing, which I think is sometimes we forget about, is how do we also make this data visual and impactful. So how can we package it all the way out to social media? So Klimatkollen works a lot both with PR, so helping journalists write about climate change using the data that we have. We work with partners to help them communicate to their networks about data and how it can be used. And we do a lot of work in social media to package the data, both the local municipality data and also the corporate data. So then we're building an AI we're building on top of ChatGPT to provide something called Garbo AI. So Garbo is really good at reading corporate sustainability reports. And we're extracting the numbers, particularly around emissions, from corporate sustainability reports that, of course, are open and published. We extract those numbers and we make them comparable and we validate them to make sure that they are correct. We then publish them on Klimatkollen, so making it easier for people to find those numbers. You don't have to read through all those lengthy sustainability reports, but we package it for you. Also other types of numbers in terms of revenue and number of employees. We also in the process of publishing this data in the most open, transparent platform that we have, which is Wikipedia. So today you can go to a company's Wikipedia page, you can find information about their revenue, about number of employees, and a whole host of other things. Emissions data is not there. So this is what we're building in our pipeline to make sure that the data that we scrape in, we also publish on companies' own Wikipedia pages. We want to make sure that when you Google a company, you not only get the core information about that is financial, but you also get their emission numbers. And then we communicate it. So we package it both for PR audiences, but also in social media. So this is a really big part of making sure that the public knows about and can use the data that we produce. So just really briefly about the impact so far. We've only existed for 3 years so far, but with the help of many interested parties who are all for open data and transparency, we've managed to have quite a large impact in Sweden alone. So we published emissions data for 290 municipalities in Sweden and 300 biggest companies. And that's large cap, mid cap, so state-owned companies and public interest companies. We've secured a whole lot of collaborations. So this is not building an ecosystem, really involves working with partners. And that's from academia, it's from the corporate sector, it's from civil society. So building a network also of partners is key. We've secured grants. So the AI that we're building at the moment, we got a grant from google.org to support our work for 2 years so that we could build this open database of company information and also the open source technology. And we've reached really far in terms of media. So being able to package data in a way that media and the public can understand has helped us reach over 50 million people. And also we see that both local municipalities, companies and citizens are using this data in their own advocacy work. And that's really what it is about for us. And reached over 8 million people in different speaking engagements. So that's all I had to say, but basically our goal right now is to make sure that we not just stay with the 300 biggest companies, but being able to plug in all companies that have published sustainability reports across Europe to start and then globally. So please come and talk to us if you want to be a part of making that happen. Thank you.
Super impressive, huh? So, Carlo, what do we have from the slide?
So, in connection a bit about what Frida was saying, someone asks, how can we challenge the dominance of big tech for democratic and sustainable AI?
That's a key question, isn't it? I think what we've found is that you have to start from the bottom up and build the alternative solutions. A reflection is that a lot of people talking about AI, particularly big tech, and there's a lot of talk. So I think being able to build the alternatives, like Marco was saying as well, open source, citizen first solutions, because of course technology is here already and there are lots of tools that we can use in our work. So scrutinizing big tech, I don't know, that's the quick question, but for me it's like, if I can't influence what's happening with big tech, I can at least build a solution or the alternatives to those models and put them in the hands of citizens that can do something good with that data and those technologies.
Thank you. Let's take one more question, please.
Yeah, a very nice and interesting question is, AI is also a very incredible tool for helping us to fight climate change, but can it be used for misinform about climate change?
Of course. It's a tool as same as the internet. It can be used for good and for bad. And we know that the fossil fuel industry is working very actively, of course, with AI solutions to spread misinformation. But there are also alternatives to that. So for instance, the University of Zurich that we're working with have tools that are helping us scrutinize greenwashing in corporate reports and also fact check what's actually correct. So there are organizations, usually led by civil society, that are challenging that and building other types of solutions that is a counteract to that. And I think if we don't engage in that debate, then others will use it for disinformation and to sway the agenda.
Thank you very much, Frida. And I'm sure many people here would like to speak to you after this session. So where will you be in your EU blue suit afterwards?
Yeah, the EU suit can be easily found out there by the coffee tables.
At the coffee tables, great. Because this is open source. So you encourage people to use this and pull out their climate data in other countries of Europe, right?
Exactly.
So it's an open invitation. Terrific. Warm hand.
Thank you.
I've had the pleasure of working with the next speaker since 2018. Ingmar Rentzhog is the CEO and co-founder of the largest media platform for climate action in the world. We don't have time. So Ingmar, please join me on stage. You have 5 minutes for presentation, and please send in questions to Ingmar. There you go. Here you go.
Thank you, Catarina. I used to work in the finance industry, helping insurance companies, big banks, and also public traded companies to create trust when they were communicating to the investor market. In the stock market, we have so much information. There is tons of information out there, and the more transparent you are as a company, the better your share is actually performing in the stock market. But we don't have that for climate information yet. We have a lot of initiatives working on it, but we need to do more. And I believe that AI will be a big enabler for this. We have a lot of challenge with AI. It's a high energy consumption, yes, but it's also very much something we can use in the information era we are in. And I'm CEO and founder of We Don't Have Time. Our mission is to democratize knowledge around climate solutions. We need people to not only be aware of all the problems we have regarding climate change, we also need them to know about all the solutions, because otherwise we will just give up if we only hear about the problems. And that's our mission. We are today the world's largest media platform for climate action. We gather 120,000 climate professionals in 180 countries. They are using our platform to share knowledge and communicate. We also work very much in partnership, everything from large corporations to smaller startups and NGOs, and we help them communicate what they do. And in order to not just talk with the ones already doing the right thing, we are broadcasting this out to millions of people each month, and we have a social media reach monthly for 200 million. So when you see someone doing something good out there, you can go to We Don't Have Time, you can send them Climate Love, and we will make sure that more people knows about it, because I think that love is something we need to share, and it will only grow, and that's the same thing with climate action. I'm here to talk about AI. The way we use AI is to communicate better. AI is an incredible, powerful tool you can use to do a lot of damage. You can use it to discredit people, you can use it to share false information, but you can also use it for good. And I believe that we that are working for good, if we don't use the communication tool that the other side are using, we will lose. So we need to learn how to use this, because we have one thing on our side that the other side don't have. We have the truth. And AI is programmed to learn around large information, and it's very hard to keep a lie going if you're guided by truth. So here's a use case we did for COP27. We actually made videos of climate activists around the world, and we transferred them into living in the future in the year 2050. and we backcasted a message with help of AI, and we broadcasted that to all the leaders in place in Dubai for the COP28 meeting. And here's just a show reel how we use that AI tool for communication.
Just not having a future in general is a pretty scary idea to grasp at 17.
Climate change is threatening the future of our young generations. Despite raising their voices for a livable future, it seems world leaders are not listening. So we decided to speak to politicians using a voice they won't ignore. At COP28, We Don't Have Time launched the global initiative Future Voices. With the help of AI, we transformed young climate advocates into their future selves. From Bangladesh to Ecuador, 14 climate advocates from 6 different continents recorded their own messages, envisioning the local impact of climate change by 2050. And with each message, they urged world leaders to phase out fossil fuels. A unified message, empowered by AI. With a near to zero media budget, we reached 185 million in just a few days. This contributed to the United Nations Development Programme's decision to back the initiative.
And I'm very, very happy to be participating.
And on the final day of COP28, the documentation for transitioning away from fossil fuels was officially recorded.
I must say that you did it.
A climate win and a testament to what a global youth movement, amplified by AI, can accomplish.
It is a start, but much more is needed.
Time is running
out.
The choices world
leaders make today will determine the kind of world
we live in tomorrow.
The future is now.
So it's a very efficient way to show that the world we're going to live in tomorrow, how is that? And we can influence it very much today. And it's not the youth that can do it, it's the leader that are acting in power now. You can get involved in We Don't Have Time. If you haven't done that already, I really recommend to take up your phone and use that QR code and download We Don't Have Time. We are not only the world's largest media platform for climate action. I actually believe, so far I have not heard of anyone else, we are the largest social network digital platform in Europe. All digital platforms are based in US or elsewhere. Let's also change that. So if you use a US platform, you now have an alternative to use also a European-made platform. So warmly welcome. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ingmar. Let's turn to Caller right away. We have short intersections here, but we have a panel afterwards also where we'll be able to talk to all the speakers again. Yes, Caller.
Yeah, someone asks, how can ordinary people can support the creation of an European AI?
Oh, that's a big question. First,
all are big questions.
I think that Europe needs to create an own AI. And I think it's hard for normal people to do it. I think it's a task for European Union to do that. Why aren't Europe taking this as an opportunity to create an alternative to ChatGPT or other US platforms, to create an open, transparent, open source platform based on democratic values? I think we have a big opportunity to do it. And if China can do it with DeepSeek, why can't we do it? So just let's do it. But I think here's the role for European Union. We have public service TV. Why don't we have a public service AI that will really create innovation in Europe?
That's a strong call to action. Let's take one more question, please, Carlo.
Is AI risking to be not accessible for everyone, meaning that companies will ask for money for this access?
Company will, sorry.
It's not going to be open source or free to use any longer. No. It's going to be.
Yeah, it's a big risk. It's a super big risk. So if we want to be independent in Europe and not controlled by, countries that are not democratic, we need to build our own platform. And why shouldn't we do that? Why should we spend money to send money elsewhere when we can do it ourselves? And why can't we build a much better, more transparent and public service platform? I think this is a big mission for the European Union, and I hope that will happen.
Well, thank you very much for your questions, and thank you very
It
much.
can also be powered by clean energy and energy efficiency. So let's make Europe better for AI.
Thank you very much, Ingmar Rentzhog. That's a pretty strong call to action, huh? I think we have some EU people in the room that are taking notes, at least I hope. So let's move on to the next speaker, Melanie Schutz. She's going to talk about Planting Trees 2.0, green entrepreneurship with AI. So Melanie, please step up onto the stage and share your presentation. And please give Melanie a warm hand.
Planting trees 2.0, what does this has to do with green entrepreneurship? And is green entrepreneurship even possible with AI? Yeah, that's the question we have to answer now. First, some facts. 11 million trees were planted across Turkey by volunteers on one day. Great, right? The question, how many trees do you think have survived? Any guesses?
One.
One, that's very optimistic.
500,000?
Okay, so maybe I give you a hint. Thinking about a percentage, what do you think?
10%?
Jesus? Not too bad. I'm speaking to experts here. Yeah, actually, Jesus from Spain is right. 90% of the trees died. So, an analysis afterwards figured out why. So, because 90% of the trees died because they were just planting the wrong trees at the wrong place, so often very dry earth, and actually at the wrong time. So November is not the right month in Turkey to plant trees. So how about doing an analysis first and transferring this knowledge to figure out what might be the right tree to plant where and when? That's exactly what we are doing with IdeaScanner for Business. IdeaScanner is Europe's largest privately funded research project on business success factors and empowers everyone to scan business ideas with AI before planting. How does it work? It's super easy. You can scan your business idea with our AI co-entrepreneur regarding our identified success factors. And after the scan, you receive a score. And this is pretty unique. IdeaScanner makes ideas measurable for the very first time. So you know within minutes what is your status quo regarding your score. And the best part is we also give you individual feedback. What would be or could be your USP? Or what sustainable products and services could you implement in your current business model? And yeah, even scale it to also make this measurable again by increasing the company score. And we figured out that our users could improve their score, yeah, with plus 20%, just by scanning the idea and implementing the feedback and then scan the idea again. So IdeaScanner is the AI co-entrepreneur that empowers you to make decisions like an investment professional, to think smarter by scan, score, and scale, and to boost sustainable innovation by 10x. We are democratizing the expert knowledge of venture capitalists. For example, the Finance Fem Lab, run by Jump and JP Morgan, they use IdeaScanner so that female founders and entrepreneurs can scan their current business model and get feedback also on how to scale their green business ideas, and yeah, to be pitch ready to investors and to receive funding, because that's also a big issue that a lot of female founders doesn't receive funding in Europe. And we want to change that by leveraging AI for green entrepreneurship, to bring together what normally seems at the first place not should be together, or it should be a contrary. But we think the future lies in sustainability and in growth to really have an impact as an impact entrepreneur. But instead of planting millions of new startups, what about focusing on already existing businesses to transform them for the green transition? And that's what we also do with Idea Scanner. We use it for ourselves, for order analysis, to focus on sustainable value creation with AI for green transition of existing SMEs. So let's do the right things right together with AI. AI is not the enemy. AI can be a catalyst for green entrepreneurship and for planting trees 2.0. And if you want to see more female founders and entrepreneurs on stage talking about how they scale their green business idea to make Europe the first climate neutral continent, recommend our free pre-scan. Or if you're working at a company as a business innovator or strategist, you can also license Idea Scanner within your company, within your institution, university, to support your next accelerator, incubator program or hackathon to really drive sustainable innovation within corporate innovation and entrepreneurship education. And if you have an idea here, of course, you can also scan it before planting.
Thank you very much indeed, Melanie, for bringing up the entrepreneur perspective in this field. Carla, what do we have?
So someone asks, what's the difference between the Idea Scanner and co-create with real people together?
Like we've seen at the beginning, what is your first thought of AI? Someone also said assistant. Mm-hmm. So AI is not your enemy. AI can be your superpower. It can really make you think smarter, and it really, can also increase the teamwork and the team innovation and the co-creation. We really experience it within our clients, with Siemens or BMW, when they're using Idea Scanner at their incubator accelerator programs. We figured out their method and recommend that 3 people scan one idea together. And if these 3 people are from different units, or speaking of universities, if they're from different faculties, that's a huge benefit. Using a tool and also having this human background, and then give feedback also from the human side, but with the help of AI and data-driven decision and insights. It's really accelerating teamwork.
Great. Let's take one more question.
Another question on Idea Scanner too. Does it work at any level of the project or idea, or only at the very beginning?
Great question.
Oh, that's a good question. Actually, we've started Idea Scanner not as a business, just to have just to have a tool in hand to prioritize what we want to build up next.
Because you're entrepreneurs too.
Yes. So, like the name Idea Scanner might suggest, you can use it only as at the very beginning. That's right. You can start with it. You don't even have to have a clue about your current business model, because by scanning your idea, you have to answer questions also about your product, your business model, and your market. And by answering those questions, you get triggered to find your business model. And you also get feedback on how you can scale it within our Ideas Scanner report. So
Perfect. Thanks so much, Melanie. Please take a seat, and please, Marco, Frida, and Ingmar, join her. Join her and grab a microphone, and keep sending questions into the speakers here. I have a first question to you all. You have listened in to each other's presentations. Do you have any spontaneous reflections on each other's presentations that you would like to share? Ingmar, you always have.
I would say that what we have seen here is a lot of use case how AI can be used for good. I mean, we can't go into the future by banning new solutions. If AI, AI is a huge energy consumption. That's a big problem. We need to address that, we need to improve that, and I actually believe that AI itself can be used to improve AI. And we need to use AI for all the solutions. AI gives me hope, but we need to take control of it, and we need to start using it and also building it differently. And I think we have seen use case that we can do that.
Thank you. Frida?
I just want to reflect on what Marco was talking about, because I think it is really important to scrutinize big data centers, energy consumption, material consumption. There's a whole host of stuff that needs to be done. And I think a lot of the solutions is really around transparency, because if we don't know what big tech are building and the impacts of that, and we don't see the numbers, it's really difficult. There's a lot of misinformation also about the environmental impact of AI. Really difficult to find correct answers, because a lot of them are held back by the companies that are building and developing AI solutions. And so I think it is important for us to keep also a keen eye on that aspect as well.
Thank you. So Marco, do you have any reflections on the presentations that came after you?
Well, coming from science, I see a very interesting presentation, because it's unusual to take an optimization problem with AI, but definitely it's a really powerful tool. So despite of my concerns I presented in the slides, I strongly recommend to try AI, because it definitely is an important tool. But we need to, as introduced by Frida, we need definitely to take care about the constraints it has actually. Both from transparency, but they will also thinking about explainability. So having a more democratic AI can also help us to know the algorithm behind. So we know why, for instance, our idea is not working, and we do not have a black box that is saying that can, for instance, drop some good idea without any knowledge. So it's important to use AI and use the proper tool of AI as much as democratic as possible, so open source. But not only from the data perspective, also from the algorithm perspective, because we need to be able to explain what is happening, what is the reason behind the AI answers.
So Marco, another question to you. When we prepared a bit yesterday, all of us, we met and talked. You talked about more local AI and more of a future that will be less energy use less energy. So could you tell us a little bit about this, please?
Yes, actually, it's my main focus of research. Let's say that starting from 2010, the paradigm of AI was, okay, let's use as much processing capability as possible, because GPU were starting to be available with lower costs. So most of the research went to this path that has been called bigger is a better paradigm. So brute force attack. And the AI community leave a bit the part that was more related to, let's say, lean or frugal AI. So we can go toward this. We can return back and return to you to evaluate more this frugal paradigm. And in doing this, definitely it's a matter of also of the user, of the consumer of these AI services, to do not blindly go to the bigger solution that we are sure that they work, but we can also try local solution. So move towards local service providers. I'm thinking, for instance, an example is GreenPT now, is a Belgian actually company that is releasing a chat box that is similar to the biggest one, but definitely it's smaller. So it can have some less power, but considering our purposes, we can use it for targeting our specific needs.
Thank you, Carlo. And Melanie, you didn't get to answer the first question here. Reflections. What thoughts did you get from listening to Frida and Marco and Ingmar?
Yeah, that was quite a roller coaster, from an emotional video and also from citizens' engagement. But what I've really learned is, and you know me, I'm an advocate to think smarter with AI, to use it as assistant. But also talking with Marco is, yeah, maybe we should think more about when we use AI. So to have an awareness, maybe also to think, first of all, by ourselves, can we answer this question before we use another time just Perplexity or ChatGPT or DeepSeek or what else?
Thank you, Melanie. The initial question here, the word cloud, was about what was top of mind when it comes to AI, and many of the sentences of words that came up were more on the concern side than on the positive side. What does that tell you, Ingmar? And how do we sort of we try to display and showcase here solutions, but you're not very worried about the climate aspects of AI, I understand. And why is that?
I mean, it was two questions. Why is people worried? I mean, I think it's natural. We are always worried about the unknown. And we want to stick with how the world was in the past. But that's impossible. Either we change or the nature will change us. And AI is here, so we need to shape it the way we want it. Otherwise, other ones will shape it the way they want it. And I don't think that's a good idea. The reason why I'm not so worried is that we have a lot of challenges, but it's also a race against time. We really need, I mean, the reason why we have this extremely geopolitical situation in the world right now is very much because the clean energy transition are winning. So we're seeing this last resistance, where you even have in US the plan to kind of ban climate science, ban the data around how much carbon dioxide is up in the atmosphere. They're trying to close down that laboratory measuring that.
In Hawaii,
that's because they are afraid of losing the fossil fuel power, or afraid of losing. So what we need in order to win against that, money. And AI is successfully raising a lot of money. It's a lot of money funneled into AI. And that money will go into clean energy because AI is consuming so much energy. And as long as it's clean energy that is powered with AI, that means that it will move a lot of money into clean energy, so that clean energy will scale and become cheaper, better, more efficient, so that the oil, fossil fuel-based energy economy will be outcompeted. That is what I believe this AI will lead to. So yes, it's energy inefficient, but if we get all the money into building, scaling the renewable clean energy world, we're going to win. And those that are against science in some country over there, they are actually spending a lot of money on AI. Let them do that, because that will help us win against the craziness in the world.
Thank you very much, Ingmar. Frida, I want to hear your thoughts on
Yeah,
this.
I just want to touch on something there, because obviously there's a lot of fear around the impact, and you touched briefly on also fossil fuel energy and fossil-free energy as well. And I think a lot of the power as well lies in building the solutions and showing those solutions. And there are a lot of solutions out there that are not being seen. So we have a lot of possibilities within Europe to actually build a fossil-free energy system, and that's obviously core. And one example is that the data that we're not storing that in an American cloud. We are storing it in a Swedish solution instead. So the data is based in Sweden, doesn't use an animal or very minimal water, which is normally also a big concern. The energy going into powering this data center is renewable energy, clean energy, and they're working to connect also this extra energy that is being generated by the servers into the electricity grid in Sweden, using recycled servers as well. So you can build in circularity also if you have a system that we're lucky to have in Sweden that is basically fossil-free energy in. So a lot of those solutions do exist, and we need to talk about different ways of doing it and not just focus on the bad stuff, because this is a lot to do with the energy transition as well, and making sure that our grids, of course, are fossil-free. But there are solutions that exist that we need to highlight them more, I think.
Thank you very much indeed, Frida. And Marco, what are your thoughts on this? I mean, from a scientist perspective, is the theory that Ingmar is putting forward here, is it feasible?
Yeah, definitely. From science perspective, I would say that there's a lot of effort now in trying to decentralize the artificial intelligence algorithms. For instance, one of the possibilities, as by Frida suggested, that you can use your local, or even you can set up your local data center in your neighborhood and provide, for instance, a chatbot service to the people that are interested in your neighbors, and so create a community on this, in which in this community you can apply your own rules. You can, of course, be transparent with your internally, and you don't need to rely on external companies and cross the oceans or the continents. From science perspective, there is a lot of work on this. For instance, what is interesting to do now is return, as I said before, to more frugal paradigm of AI. So toward a machine learning that is, for instance, more closer to the brain, how the brain works. I know that most of us think that artificial intelligence is how brain works, but it's still quite far from our real brain works. Actually, our brains is much more energy efficiency of any machine learning algorithm. So we can return to investigate on this. We need to return to investigate on this, and also we can investigate the part that how to coordinate when we have this distributed intelligence, how to coordinate the algorithms, because it's not definitely there are some challenges on this. So my feeling is that we don't need to be scared. Of course, we should be scared if we do not act now and we just use AI as many big techs would like us to use. But if we explore a bit, there's many new services, local services that are now has been creating. So be curious and don't be lazy. Just, I know that it's easy to go for the big one that is working perfect, but I'm quite sure that I'm sure that I already seen many examples of really a very good AI services provided by local small companies.
So Carlo, how do you find them? I mean, people almost like, oh, maybe I have one. Oh, there's one raising his hand over there. Good. So we have these solutions already, but how do we use AI to find them, I guess?
Yeah, can be. Definitely, that can be an option. Or, for instance, in this case, yes, probably one question was before with Melanie, was how to mix the usage of AI and the collaborative approach. Let's do it collaboratively. There's plenty of groups in your cities probably that is working on this, they are trying to reach people, new people, and new effort for building this kind of new solution. You shouldn't be the smartest guy in the world. You shouldn't be an AI expert, but they need people to create this critical mass of people using new services and trying new services. So my personal suggestion is to go down on the street, look in your neighborhoods, on your city, and for sure there will be some group working on this.
Thank you so much, Carlo. Of course, we're all, many of us here are ambassadors at the EU Climate Pact, and we have access to this network, and we could feed in. So the guy raising your hand up in the back here, please feed in your information about the local solutions to the EU Climate Pact, and it will be shared with us, all of us ambassadors. And we need more good examples and more local solutions, of course, to navigate here. So Carlo, questions from the viewers and the audience in the room, please.
So effective AI relies on data availability. What can communities with limited access to data do to gain benefits from AI?
Limited access to data, how can they? Well, that's a good question. Who would like to start? Frida.
Yeah, I can start. I mean, that is definitely one of the problems, right? I mean, there's a lot of existing inequalities that exist in the world. Of course, also is a huge data divide, so it's a very, very similar thing. So that is a problem. And of course, that needs investment, that needs good, relations. It needs aid to developing countries to make sure that we do have data tools as well. But I think also what Marco was talking about, there are ways of doing it, and I think for me it's very similar to the energy transition as well. Either we build really big conglomerate energy systems, or we build really local, regenerative, community-based, transparent, open systems that can connect with other systems. So I think also finding those structures, and for me that is a whole new world as well that we need to take into account, because there are many countries, of course, people living in poverty today that could really benefit from a lot of these solutions that exist. But of course that takes political leadership, it takes aid, it takes international relations, it takes democracy, it takes a whole host of different things to get there. But I think this is definitely a problem.
Anybody else, any thoughts on this question? Okay, let's take another one.
How could we incentivize people to use smaller AI rather than big tech? How to raise awareness and consciousness in face of what is convenient?
I think we sort of answered this, but let's give it another try.
Well, that's probably the cool question, the key question, probably, I guess. My feeling is that it's a matter of us. I mean, as we have done, we need to, as we are so devoted to climate and our Earth and our future, we need to start thinking that as we moved from, we are trying to move from fossil fuels, we can also thinking that AI is another problem. So probably what we lack now is good data. Actually, we lack of data. We lack of transparency from big tech operators about AI. So and this is a big problem, because since we cannot figure clearly which is the energy consumption and the impact of the AI, we are still in the phase that it can be this, but it can't be this, because I don't know, I'm not sure. But if we have real numbers, and if we have alternatives that can provide their good numbers, then we can go on. So as a users of AI, we need to stress about this. So as soon as you see some new solution that provides you real numbers, that they are providing you a service, a greener services, go for this. And even if it's not like the best one, I would say we need to. That is always a trade-off, of course.
Thank you. We're nearing the end of this panel, but I'd like to send the audience off here with some more of a call to action from each one of you in this realm of AI and climate science and climate action, of course. Ingmar, what would you like to say to also address the worry that we saw initially on the first slide here about AI and sustainability?
To answer this question first, very quick, I think there's a golden opportunity to actually regulate so that when you use AI, you need to disclose the energy use and the carbon footprint. If we do that, we will have a system where all companies need to have net zero targets, so their employees can't overuse AI if they don't really need that energy use. I think that can drive innovation.
Sounds like a no-brainer, really, that we don't have it already. We should.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't think it will happen without regulation. So that's something for European Union to maybe regulate. The call to action, we can't go into the future without using the technology that are driving change. And I think the climate community needs to embrace AI in a way that we make sure that we are controlling it, shaping the future with AI. If we don't do it, I think the fossil fuel power will do it instead. So we have a choice.
Thank you, Ingmar.
For me, it's easy.
Melanie.
I think we should replace fear with knowledge. And we had here some examples of how we can transfer knowledge in different sectors. And yesterday we also had a narrative of competitiveness. And competitiveness is usually, claimed negative. But regarding the last months and the AI development, I think competitiveness is exactly what we are needing now. Because you've also mentioned DeepSeek beforehand. They've shown us how they can, Ole is knocking his head. How they can be energy efficient. They need less than 50 to 70% less energy for their AI, and that's just the beginning. So try to inform yourselves, stay ahead, and embrace it and use it for yourself, and also, just to think smart how you did.
Thank you, Melanie.
So I think for me, because obviously in the room we have people working on communications, on advocacy, on business, all sorts of different sectors and topics. And I think we're all in the room want to try and accelerate the climate transition. And I think for every bit that you're working on, whether it's advocacy or communications, there are to seek out AI solutions that can help you accelerate that work. Particularly those working in civil society, which is obviously, we never have enough money to do what we really want to do. Finance is tight, and that's a really good way to kind of increase our capacity beyond just the people that are involved in the organizations. So no matter what you work on, I think find solutions that will help you do your own job better.
Thank you very much, Frida. Marco.
Yep, I agree with what Posti already said. Most of the things. I agree that we shouldn't have fear about the AI. We are not. We shouldn't compete with the other. I mean, we can compete with the other. We should not compete in the sense of we have to go for the best solution, but we can still go for the most sustainable solution. So this is important for Europe and for all citizens in Europe, that we can still rely on this on this changing in paradigm. And instead, and be more conscious of our usage of the AI and in general digital services, I would say, and all the digital technologies, because it's not only a matter of only AI. All the digital technology has a stronger impact from minerals perspective, from resources perspective, and even from human rights perspective, because this has there are strong conflicts against all the minerals used by the digital technology. So, as a European, I would say that we should start thinking more on this paradigm of be conscious of our of the service and the technology we are using, and do not be a fear, but use them with this consciousness. So. They are very powerful, definitely, so we should go for them, and not with fear, but with knowledge.
Thank you very much. Not with fear, but with knowledge. I think that's a good conclusion, isn't it? Learn more, use it but don't fear it, and also use it for good. Thank you so much, Marco. Frida's going to stay on the stage. Thank you very much, Melanie, and thank you very much, Ingmar. Please give them a warm hand stepping down. So, now there's time for some interaction. Are you gonna showcase an AI tools, Frida, for us?
Yes. Let me see if we can find the right. There we go. So I know it's really, it's late, it's before lunch, everyone's a bit tired, but we want to also make sure that you get to try an AI tool here in the room. And I know that there are a lot of people who are obviously working on decision makers, influencing decision makers, advocacy, communications, whole host of different things. A really warm green audience, I think we have in the room. But I want to talk briefly about a tool that I have worked a little bit with. I'm not responsible for it, so don't ask me any deep questions about it. But we are going to try it together. But first I'll just show a little bit what it is. Has anyone heard of the Climate Policy Radar before? Hand up. A few people? Great. That means there are a lot of people that haven't. So that's exciting. So Climate Policy Radar talks a lot about that we need smarter, more informed climate decisions. But of course, a lot of the information that we are using in our advocacy work are really lengthy reports. There are submissions from countries, there are NDC documents, a lot of information that is really dense and takes a lot of time to read. So the solution for Climate Policy Radar has been to basically build an open platform, an open database that puts all those documents into one place and then provides an easy way for us as advocates for climate action to use those documents. So it's climatepolicyradar.org, where you can find, it's a one-stop shop for basically all the relevant documents that you could possibly need in your advocacy work. And breaking it down as well to the relevant sections of these documents that you are particularly interested in as well. So at the moment, this database covers documents from 200 governments, 11,000 documents, a whole host of pages and different passages relevant to climate change. And it's really trying to be that trustworthy public tool for climate action. So just really briefly on how the Climate Policy Radar uses AI. So it's both a semantic search, so highlighting the search terms for you in the documents that you are looking for. It classifies those and identifying sort of key climate concepts and using generative AI prototype queried. So what you do is you go to this platform, you type in a search term, and it could be either a topic, so it could be about adaptation, about mangroves, about flood defense, about anything topic that you might be working on. Or you can jump straight to your own country and find all the documents that are relevant to your country. I've done this a few times when I'm accessing information about Swedish policies to find all those information in the same place. And then they return the results then for these search terms and helps you find the right things with sources, and you can also then filter the types of documents, whether it's UNFCCC documents, policies or laws. And there are also more information about litigation documents coming on stream soon as well. And then it also highlights for you exactly what you're looking for to try to skip to the right passages. So of course that you don't need to, it both summarizes those documents for you and helps you find the right place in those documents. I know a lot of us are spending probably a lot of our time looking through different documents for things that we've looked for before and we can't find again. So here are some of the supporters behind the Climate Policy Radar, and they're doing a lot of great work. They have a great big team doing some of this work in finding these documents, classifying them and putting them into this open database for all of us to use. That's it. And also if you have questions in more detail about this tool, it's not really me that should be answering them, but to contact Inez at Climate Policy Radar, or if you want to collaborate with them in some way, they're open as well for collaboration.
Well, thank you so much, Frida, for taking on, introducing this tool that's not really yours. So thank you very much. And let's now go to Slido, and you get to scan the QR code here, so you can try out the tool. So do this for a few minutes, and also discuss with the person sitting next to you. And the question at hand for you to talk about is, how can this tool be useful for your work? So go to the site, scan the QR code, and try it, test it for a few minutes, and discuss with your neighbor how can you use this tool in your work. Is that not the right QR code? Okay, all right. It goes to Slido, so then just go to the web page. Can you turn it back again, Carlo, so we get to the web page address? climatepolicyradar.org. So I thought that would be in the Slido deck, but that's okay. Climatepolicyradar.org. Go to that web page and test it out and talk to your neighbor. How can you use this tool in your work? Let's give it 5 minutes for this. And again, I encourage you to try it and talk about your efforts and trying to use it with your neighbor so we get some dialogue going in the room. I'll give you 2 more minutes to explore and discuss, and then I would like for you to go to Slido and type in how you found this tool useful. So 2 more minutes of talking to each other, and then please go to Slido and write in your reflections. Okay, thank you very much. Let's now turn to Carlo. No reflections yet. You're too busy trying it out. Please type in your reflections of trying out the tool in the Slido format, please. Did it work for you? Was it difficult? How do you think you can use this tool in your advocacy work? See if we get some text in. Yes, Carlo?
Yeah, we have some questions on...
Can I ask you please to listen to Carlo now so we can share what reflections we have in the room? Carlo, go ahead.
Which parameters influence the position of the result?
Can you say again, please?
Which parameters influence the position of the results?
That's a question, that's not a reflection. So could we have some reflections, please? Not yet. Okay. I would like to ask the panel to step up again. because I see you've been trying out the tool, and I know for sure that you can get me some reflections. You don't have to sit down now, you can just stand up because it's late in the day. You need to keep some energy. Mel? So, Frida, your thoughts?
Let's not start with me, because I've tried the tool. Ingmar had some reflections,
Okay,
I think.
okay, go ahead.
Okay, I haven't tried this tool before. It's new. I think it's super ambitious, very amazing to gather all the policy documents. So I tried to search for some terms that I was super eager to look into, and I got a lot of hits. Actually, I searched for military, fossil-free military.
Fossil-free military.
Europe is going to spend 800 billion euros on military rearmament, and if we don't do that in a new way, we're going to spend that money in developing the fossil fuel economy. So I want to see what kind of policies out there, and I got a lot of hits, but I didn't understand. I mean, I just got directed to a lot of documents. So I think this can be developed further by summarizing what is in this document is about this topic.
Okay.
So they have done it half, but they can do it full, and I think that can be developed.
Well, the feedback from the panel also, if you type in your reflections, will of course be sent to this tool, the crew putting this tool together. So I'm skipping you now, Frida. You get to go last. Melanie, what did you think about the tool?
Actually, I have more the business perspective.
Always, that's good, yeah.
So climate policy radar, I think it's more a tool for people who are engaged within their community and also want to be up to date what our current policies are running for climate. And I just typed in Munich, and it's popping me out Germany's recovery and resilience plan, and also a maritime agenda for 2025. So I think that might be useful for citizens who engage within their community to know about those.
Great. Marco?
I share a bit the problems of Melanie, since I'm a science guy. I'm not so aware about, I'm not so deep in policies, but I made a try with, as you can imagine, with AI energy. So, and I'm quite surprised that there's already something from Africa, for instance, that's probably, this is related to the resources that are extracted in Africa, and something in Spain related to vehicular communication, to vehicular also in Switzerland. So I mean, it's really powerful, because I was not aware that there are already some policy related to these fields.
Thank you.
And I would also be curious, what do you think about this tool?
Well, we try to get some reflections. We're going to let them in a second, because they were just a question when we started. Frida?
Yeah, I think what Ingmar was saying is that there's a lot of great documents. So for me as a communicator, I always think, like, what can we use this information for, more in terms of creating narratives or communications around what's in these documents. And it needs to be, of course, easy to use and ideally work really well for mobile phone. So maybe there could be some improvements there. But any information, I think, that can help us find more information and base our own arguments, our advocacy, our communications on facts and stats and numbers that exist, I think is great.
Thank you. Let's take some reflections from the audience. I think we have some now, Carlo.
Yeah, we have some. Some people believe that this is a good tool, especially for students with some interesting ideas and resources. Some others prefer Google research. They believe it is more targeted. And so I would say some polarized reactions.
Thank you, Carlo. So, Ingmar, you wanted to say something?
I have an idea where I would like to see this policy tracker to add, and that's to gather all the pledges. We have all these pledges at COP meetings from countries, from companies. Gather those pledges, combine it with action, and we will see that most pledges are just words.
Great, we talked about this before.
And I think
is a good,
that can be a really good use case
for
something like this.
You actually answered my next questions. Which AI tools or improvements are we missing and that you would like to see? Marco, you're laughing. Plenty of them, huh?
Well, I miss the AI tool that is saying me how much AI is consuming, really. But I'm joking. And definitely, well, that's definitely an exercise of transparency that we miss. And I would say, well, probably yeah, this to me is quite important.
That's the big one.
Yeah, just to allow people to be conscious on their life.
To be able to see which tools are the most energy efficient. Yes, of course. Mel.
I would like to see more tools that I can use daily as a citizen regarding my my consumptions also in the household. How should I end now with my shower or something like that? Regarding this daily problems and to have a transparency of our consumption that would be quite helpful, I think.
And if you get this idea, you can always scan it in the ID scanner, right?
Yeah, totally right.
I'm going to scan that idea after.
Frida.
I think for me, it's I'm excited about tools that can help us do our job better. So like a daily tool that you can use on your phone, because that's where we are most of the time, most of us, that help us find and assess, science information that can help us transform that into action in different ways. And that can be advocacy, it could be campaigns, it could be creative communications or visuals. So I think those kind of tools, I think, really excites me. I'm hoping that there'll be lots more of them, energy efficient ones.
Thank you. Ingmar.
Calling out all the lies, and especially from our political leaders. When they are on television, they're often cutting shortcuts, saying some things that are not true. AI can actually find that in real time and put them into accountability, because it's too much lies out there.
Boy, we need that.
And what gives me hope, I tested so many AI tools. I tested AI tools, Grok, that Elon Musk has developed. I can really recommend to ask questions around Elon Musk with his own tool. He will probably not agree with Elon Musk, I can tell you. So if you have an AI model that is trained with a huge data set, it will give you the truth. Because lies, you can have a fraction, but if you have a big data set, it's very hard to get a lie to be the truth. Because you basically, you know this, if you keep lying, you need to keep track on everything you said, and you're not going to do that. So AI is very hard to train on lies. So let's use AI to provide accountability and the truth. And perhaps we need to replace our leaders for an AI instead of having lying leaders.
Or at least call them out. Great. We're almost at the end here. As I mentioned initially, Frida Eklund is the one who put this session together. And you, boy, did you put in a lot of work to get everything perfect, to make this happen. So Frida, I'd like to ask you a question, and you're not prepared for this, but I know you're so smart, you're going to do it brilliantly anyway. If we stand here in 5 years at this EU Climate Pact, Ambassador Pact event, what have we achieved as ambassadors? How has AI helped us in sort of in a big picture?
I guess my hope is that it would have amplified everything that we are doing daily in our everyday lives, in our work to accelerate climate change, tenfold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold with the help of AI. So that would be my wish that's going to happen in 5 years. So we have to try and make that happen.
Well, there are many of us here that would like that to happen, right? So let's bring the work. Let's do this. And thank you so much to the panelists. Give them all a warm hand.
And thank you to you. Thanks, Catarina.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.